I'm sure that's what everyone was thinking. Oh my god, this is so shocking. And this is why women carry pepper spray? What the fuck is he talking about? It's actually hilarious to see the panic setting in amongst the MMA community and the MMA media shills like Ariel, Helwani and Luke Thomas and their comrades. Last week I spoke about what would happen if Alex Pereira got mauled by the Dagestani lad and where would the UFC go in terms of creating organic stars. And all of a sudden after the weekend, after the Dagestani lad mauled Alex Pereira, now we're in a conversation about the decline of UFC and the lack of organic stars. And I guess everybody within the MMA community or the fandom will have seen the fact that we have a new hope, which is the fighting nerds. And we saw this start to evolve last Friday when Jean Silva was on stage at a press conference where he tried to humiliate Bryce Mitchell, but it completely backfired. The crowd were nowhere near on board with this dude's antics. During the face-off, he got completely mogged by Bryce Mitchell and it was delicious. So now we can see the wheels in motion because of Alex Pereira losing his belt, and now we have the fighting nerds. It's the great hope of UFC, and some people are losing their mind.
About mixed martial artists, these guys emphasize the last part.
Yes.
Artists, and it shows up in the most dynamic of ways. This is such a breath of fresh air.
Calm the fuck down.
So we're going to have a look at the Bryce Mitchell mogging of this Brazilian hood rat. We're going to have a look at how inorganic this rise of the nerds are and how everybody is on board all of a sudden because Alex got beaten the other night. And we're also going to have a look at MMA media's top-notch reporters and how they feel about the fandom, how they feel about the organization, and how they feel about who the organization associates with.
That was shocking. That was shocking.
Before we get into it, if you can do me a favor, maybe hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so we'll get an all notification for any new videos. Cheers. So we've all heard the MMA media experts waxing lyrically about how the UFC have fed Bryce Mitchell to Jean Silva. As I said in a previous video, was this the UFC's way of punishing Bryce Mitchell for using his freedom of speech? Because this dude is a knockout artist and people like Luke Thomas and Ariel Helwani and maybe a handful of the fans would love to see Bryce go down. But what we actually are looking at here in terms of the reaction during the press conference the other day where Jean Silva humiliated himself, what we're actually looking at is a watered down version of gaslighting where we have the media, the UFC and 6 people in the fandom talking about how he's going to get punished, how he's going to get knocked out, he's being fed to the wolves, all this type of stuff. But look in the comment sections. Look in the comment sections. Even Ariel Helwani did a little piece about Bryce Mitchell yesterday, trying to be funny, and the comment section was filled with people who were just like, Bryce is the man, and who is this Jean guy? He is trying too hard. He is not Conor McGregor. This is cringe and embarrassing. So now we're in this position where everybody with a public voice will tell you that the crowd are totally with the fighting nerd Jean Silva and they're all against Bryce Mitchell, but it's not true and it's nowhere near true. And to be honest with you, just go and look at any comment section online and all anybody is saying is Bryce has to humble this guy. He's so annoying. So let's have a look at the press conference.
And Jesus said,
Hey,
remember,
Bryce
if the world hates you,
Bryce Mitchell.
they've hated
Fuck
you
Bryce
first.
Mitchell. Bryce
Is his servant greater than
Bryce
his master?
Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell. Hey, brother. Bryce Mitchell.
Oh, sorry, dude. You barking up the wrong tree, mother.
Hey, Bryce Mitchell. Look, Bryce Mitchell. Please.
I mean, like, did any of that work out for the fighting nerds and their massive run to the top of every division? Did any of it work out for their popularity? Did any of it work out for like PR strategies or anything like that? So just to let you know, after the weekend when we lost an organic star like Alex Pereira, this is the future of UFC, what you witnessed there. Did you enjoy that? Was there radio silence during that whole fiasco, that whole like walking around with a globe and barking, and everybody laughed on the stage when Bryce Mitchell came back and absolutely scolded him? You're barking up the wrong tree, motherfucker. And after this press conference, it was huge news. And it was all derogatory towards Bryce Mitchell. Every headline you saw was like, Jean Silva dominates, destroys, exposes Bryce Mitchell. And you were just like, where did that happen? None of that happened. And even when they got into the face-off, it got even worse for the fighting nerds. Bryce is standing there in his work clothes, he's wearing the old farm boots, and he doesn't move an inch. He doesn't back down from this little rat of a yoke. And it was delicious to see. It was absolutely delicious. And again, people were coping. Intense face-off. No, it wasn't an intense face-off. This little rat tried some PR stunt with a globe, tried to be Conor McGregor or something like that, and it backfired. But wouldn't you know, people have just licked it up, slurped it up off the ground all weekend. The MMA media experts are loving these guys.
These guys emphasize the last part.
Yes.
Artists.
I'm kind of retarded.
And when I look at Carlos Prates and Jean Silva up there on the stage, trying to get the crowd going, trying to get some sort of PR spin behind their team, I'm just kind of reminded of how many Brazilians are invading countries like here in Ireland, using loopholes like I'm here to learn English, but ditching their schooling after 5 minutes and then destroying the construction industry. And as you know, I work in the construction industry and have a lot of experience with Brazilian lads, very much like the fighting nerds. These guys that get above their station, that get the iPhone 16 Plus and get the Dolce & Gabbana jacket, and all of a sudden are walking around like they own the place. The arrogance of these rats bouncing out of their shithole countries and arriving, whether it be the UFC, whether it be Ireland, whether it be UK, and actually acting like they're Conor McGregor, like they're rolling with a couple of bill in the bank. It's pathetic. But apparently these badass nerds are redefining the game. Isn't it coincidental that they're redefining the game on the Monday morning after one of the worst UFC pay-per-views in history and one of the biggest stars just disappearing? Interesting.
Let me just say this because you asked about the fighting nerds themselves. They are easily one of the best things about the fight game today. So focused on letting personal creativity and being in a flow state with their offense deliver such a new, and I mean, there's nothing formulaic about what they do. Everything feels like it comes from their heart. And this is why I think fans respond.
I just want to pause it there for a second. I actually agree with him in terms of the devastating KOs. Jean Silva looks like an absolute badass inside the octagon. He's dropping guys like wet shits. Prates looks extremely good in between smoking a 20 pack, but I do like him and I do like his style. Ruffy there on the weekend, spinning wheel kick, bang, puts Bobby Green face down. Who doesn't want to see that? That's absolutely delicious. And it was one of the best knockouts I've seen in a while. I wouldn't go crazy saying it's the best knockout ever. People calm down. But watching their personal creativity and their flow state redefine the game, I don't know about that. It seems very premeditated in terms of how we're supposed to love these guys now. Inside the octagon, it would have been delicious if we were allowed to just enjoy the absolute badassery that they bring there. But now we have the stupid niche of the nerds and the glasses. But as soon as you see some mog of a yoke like Luke Thomas creaming his pants because of the fighting nerds, you know that there's something up. You know that it's you know that she's a little bit manufactured.
You're getting to see fighter personality. When we talk about mixed martial artists, these guys emphasize the last part.
Yes.
Artists. And it shows up in the most dynamic of ways. This is such a breath of fresh air.
So the boys are not just martial artists, they're artists. And to see them in that flow state is something to behold. Okay.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
Let's hear Ariel Helwani's take on Bryce Mitchell facing down one of these badass flow state artist redefining opposite of monoculture bad boys from the fighting nerds.
Change between Jean Silva and Bryce Mitchell. I thought Bryce Mitchell was brilliant. This was, to me, straight out of 1984 pro wrestling. Bryce Mitchell playing the Bible thumping bad guy next to the crazy Brazilian Jean Silva. They were absolute magic together, and Mitchell sticking to the gimmick while Silva was trying to rile him up with the globe, with the chants and whatnot, was really actually amazing theater.
Can I just say one thing here, right? Without getting too political, without getting too close to the sun in terms of getting shut down with this YouTube video again. Isn't it so obvious that it's 2025 and you can mock Christians in any way, shape or form without any sort of pushback? So he's a Bible-thumping WWE character and he's keeping up this gimmick and this shtick of being a follower of a certain religion. Now, just for 2 seconds, invert that. Magomed Ankalaev, Ramadan. Was he keeping up a gimmick or was he keeping up a shtick by partaking in that particular religious ritual last week? Ariel Helwani, Nathan Levy, Ari Emanuel. All these guys who are not only the owners of the UFC but are at the top of the food chain in terms of the MMA media. Is it a shtick or is it a gimmick when they get offended by someone talking about their religion? I don't think it is. I think the whole world has to stop when anybody talks about any other religion besides Bryce Mitchell's Bible thumping gimmick. That's just my take on that.
I actually thought Bryce played that perfectly. The look on his face, he starts talking in Bible verses. It's so good. The dynamic between them, characters. That is what has separated the UFC from other combat sports in the past.
And I agree 100% with Ariel Helwani. I believe that the build-up to this fight is far better than anything that we've seen recently. And I believe that's because of Bryce Mitchell being true to himself, true to his religion, and actually having the backing of the people. Go into the comment sections. That's what I would advise you to do in terms of that. And don't listen to people that are triggered by absolutely everything. Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate showed up at the UFC the other day. Huge pop amongst the crowd. Hung out with Dana White. Have a guess who was the most butthurt about that interaction.
Can you believe he did that? I mean, the answer is yes, I can believe. We're talking about Andrew and Tristan Tate. Two guys whose entire personalities are why women carry fucking pepper spray at night, you know? That was shocking. That was shocking. I mean, in a way, it's not shocking. It's kind of both, right? I mean, at the same time, like, it shouldn't be shocking at all, right? I mean, Dana thinks a lot and acts a lot like his own fighters, and many of his own fighters have, before this, gone to visit Andrew Tate and take pictures with him and everything.
I'm sure that's what everyone was thinking. Oh my God, this is so shocking. And this is why women carry pepper spray? What the fuck is he talking about? Again, you would think that Luke Thomas would learn from getting exposed last year. And it was actually myself who did it, and Jesse on Fire, when we called him out for the injection bullshit. And he came out and made a public apology, then banned me on Twitter. But at the end of the day, he did come out and apologize for jumping the gun and trying to coerce his followers into taking an injection when he really didn't know what he was talking about. And that seems to be the case again here. Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate is the reason why women carry pepper spray now? Wow. And he followed up that absolute clanger with another humdinger in terms of how he feels about the UFC and how he feels about the UFC fandom. I can't understand how someone makes a living and has a following and is such a large voice within the community where he absolutely hates every single bit of it. Is that not the definition of a shill? Is that not the definition of someone just jumping on a bandwagon because there's a few pound to be made by talking about it? Or is he really just a virtue signaler who wants to change the game, apparently?
I'm a 20 black male in college, 20-year-old black male in college, and I've been an MMA fan since I came to us. What is with the not only the blatant racism, but the hate towards Muslims too, and God forbid you bring attention to it. Welcome to the fan base in 2025, my friend. It is not everybody is great people. Please don't misunderstand me. But that's who watches this sport now. They are pushing out anybody who's got even a shred of decency so that they can just interact with who they want to interact with on whatever terms they want to interact with them on, do business with who they ever want to do business with, say whatever they want to say, live however they want to live, and there should be no social cost to it whatsoever, or business cost for that matter. And you push out all the decent people, all the people that are left just don't give a damn anymore.
So just to wrap up on everything here, UFC are actively pushing out all the decent people, and the people that are left over are just dimwit hicks who have no idea about the sport, and that's why it's being ruined. We're totally not playing a gaslighting game here. And also, there's no connection in promoting the fighting nerds like they're the best thing since Conor McGregor, because of the fact that the team as a collective got mogged by one of the people that Luke Thomas absolutely hates, Bryce Mitchell, last Friday during that press conference. And even when you go to his comment section or any of these guys' comment sections, the fighting nerds and the decent people getting kicked out narrative is being absolutely destroyed, because people want freedom of speech, people want the ability to choose where and how they live their lives, and obviously they're not decent people in the eyes of people like this guy. If any of that made sense, let me know down below. Maybe hit like, subscribe and share. I'd really appreciate that. There is a link in the bio for my Patreon. If you can help me over there, keep the show on the road, I'd appreciate that even more. Cheers.